Drum for the Song podcast.
Hello, everybody. This is Drum for the Song podcast. I've got an excellently special guest today. It's Francis Ruiz, who is the current. Hey, how's it going, Francis? The current drummer in American hard rock band. Well, I call it hard rock, or you can call it whatever you like. You can let me know in a minute. Buckcherry.
Yeah.
So, really, really great rock band. Been around quite a long time now, I guess. But Francis only joined a couple of years ago, which we can talk about in a little while.
Sure.
But so far, you're okay today?
It's great. I'm actually pretty excited that I feel okay today. I had to go get the vaccine yesterday.
Ah, right, okay.
And I got my little.
Oh wow, you've still got it covered up. Wow, nice.
Cute little Band-Aid there for.
Which one do you have over there? Because I think you've got a few different options than we have over here.
Yeah. There's three different ones. There's a Pfizer one. There's a Moderna one. Both of those required 2 shots, and then there's a Johnson & Johnson one, which is kind of like the more of the traditional vaccine, and that's a 1-shot thing. That's the one I got.
Ah, cool. So you don't even have to go back.
No, just a 1-shot thing.
Great. Yeah, I had the Pfizer a couple of weeks ago, so I've got to go back in. Well, I'm waiting for them to send me a letter, but yeah, it's cool. That people of like my age group are getting them in the UK is great. So I really didn't expect that so soon. So I'm pretty happy. Yeah, pretty happy about that. Cool. But
well, we start tour on June 1st, so it's kind of one of those things, and we have meet and greets going on.
Oh yeah,
and it was kind of one of those things that, like, I didn't really want to get the vaccine. I know the vaccine topic is just like politics with some people.
Of course,
it's like there's the ones that are for it, the ones that are totally against it. I didn't really want to get it. I figured, on all these tours that we go on, it seems like when everybody's getting the flu and getting sick on the bus and stuff like that, I never get sick.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, yeah, it's cool. And so I was thinking, as long as I keep my immune system healthy, I think that I would be okay. I mean, that could be a total naive thing to say.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell, but
I totally know what you mean, and like I don't get sick very easily either. But I've heard stories of people my age who are really perfectly healthy, really fit, and then they just die from it. So
having issues,
yeah. So like I don't want to take any risks personally, but it's good that you've got it, and I think overall it's for the best, especially if you're going to be touring around and
right.
You're going to be
it's kind of like a decision that it's like, okay, well, you kind of have to do it. It's like you're going to be around a lot of people. You can't risk getting sick and not being able to play a show. That's true. That's good. That's going to affect more than me. It's going to affect the entire tour.
Yeah.
And you know how that is. Like now, if you miss one show, that can make a really big difference with how it changes the structure of, the finances with continuing to tour and
of course.
Stuff. So
it makes a huge difference, taking, because a day, people don't realize, or some people do, a day off on tour or a cancelled show still means you have all the same expenses that day or those 2 days, but you don't have any of the income.
You're just not,
or merch
you're
sales.
not earning money that day.
So it makes a big difference. So, what I wanted to speak to you about initially really is could you tell us about how you originally got into music and got into drumming itself?
I started playing when I was young. And kind of the story. It's like I originally wanted to be a guitar player.
Okay.
And I thought guitar was cool. I went to my sister's high school show, talent show or whatever, and there was this band, and this guitar player came out blazing, insane, great player. His name was Ricardo Griego, and he still plays now, but he's like a real, up there flamenco guitar player and stuff. But at that time, he came out and he played the national anthem, the American national anthem, and then he busted into Mr. Crowley.
Wow.
Ozzy, and he just, playing all that stuff, he just blew me away. I was like, oh man, that's what I want to do, and a lot of people say that they have that aha moment, when they saw Kiss the first time or whatever, and for me, it was a local guy that made me want to play guitar. But my uncle is a drummer, and has always been a huge influence on me. And I used to go to his gigs, help him set up, watch him sit right by him, and just be completely into it. And he kind of started me out. He gave me a snare drum, and he taught me a couple little rudiments. And he was like, you don't get the whole kit. You get to practice on this for a while, and when you're ready, we'll kind of graduate you up a little bit. And so it went from there. But it was kind of cool. And I think I always had, I could always hear drums and kind of know what to do, just kind of instinctually, I guess. I don't know why. Like, I had some friends of mine were in a band, and they started early on. They used to play talent shows and Battle of the Bands and all this stuff everywhere. And when they used to play, sometimes the drummer would have a challenge playing a certain song, and me never having played it, I just kind of was able to be like, no, and I could hear it, and I can figure out what you're supposed to do to create those specific sounds. And I would get up on his kit and kind of be able to articulate it right away. And so it's something that just kind of, I guess maybe it was a natural thing that I was supposed to be a drummer, and plus came into, it was in my family already. And so it was just kind of natural. So I just picked it up.
Yeah. It sounds fairly similar to my story in that it just felt like a natural thing once I got the basics down.
Right.
I didn't do the snare drum thing like you did. I think that seems to be, I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the UK, but it seems to be more of an American thing for someone to start off playing the snare drum and going down that kind of marching band route. I don't think it happens as much in the UK.
Right.
I might be wrong. I don't know. I don't know anyone that's done that, but I think that's a really good thing. And that's where I lack, is in, I'm not too hot on all my rudiments and all the basic stuff that they teach you right at the start. But then I can play drums in a rock band fairly easily without thinking about it. So it's weird, but I lack a lot of skills.
And kill it. But there's something to be said for that, though, because there's some people that are just all technique.
Yeah,
and I admire them to no end. But there's also guys that just play out of sheer passion, and I seem to always have gravitated more towards those players as far as the guys that I love.
Yeah,
I think that's where it starts. I think you always have to have that, and I think that's more important, or equally as important as having, knowing your fundamentals and stuff like that. Because I think what that is, like, even with me, later I realized how important it was to go back to the fundamentals, because you plateau and you can't get past a certain thing. And you hear all these other players pulling off these crazy licks, and you're like, well, yeah, it makes sense to me when I hear it, but I sit down physically and I can't articulate that for some reason.
Yeah.
And that's because you're lacking. And a lot of them are just like really simple rudimentary things, like something that's like, double stroke rolls, that they're pulling off and able to do it. And it's a really simple thing. But if you didn't have that kind of foundation to start with, it kind of makes it a little bit elusive to try to, articulate those particular things. So I realized later that wow, I got to go back to the beginning, and I got to start, learning that stuff.
Yeah,
and it really is important. When I was drum teching for Slayer, and Paul Bostaph's playing drums, and he was doing this thing where he was offering drum lessons to a couple people a day, just during the show day. And
wow.
it was really super cool. People got a one-on-one lesson with him, and in the dressing room during the day before the band showed up and all that stuff. We managed to squeeze in just a couple lessons, and I would take them around and, show them the kit and stuff like that. And these people, and it didn't matter what level the drummer was, whether he was a beginner or a guy that had been playing for, 10, 15 years already. They all seemed to want to come in, and they wanted to learn how Paul played so fast, basically, and how he played double bass. And he, and I think they expected to come in and get a lesson on how to play thrash metal the way Paul plays it, and play all those crazy licks. And no matter what experience level the drummer was, it always went back down to, okay, you're going to step away from the kit, pull out the practice pad, and we're going to start doing this.
Yep.
And if you're a Karate Kid fan, right?
Oh yeah.
The whole wax on, wax off thing.
Of course. Yeah.
It's like he didn't understand what that was about, and that's boring. It's like, no, man, I want to learn how to fight. And we're like, no, you got to do this. And then so by the time he got to fighting, his muscle memory was already proficient enough that it came really easy. It's like, so that's where, I think that part becomes really important later when you want to start pulling from different influences and doing something different when you've plateaued at your playing level and you want to get past that. The only way to get past that is to go backwards and go to the very beginning and learn all that stuff. So, so I mean, it was kind of cool, and my uncle, he would give me challenges. And then when we moved to the kit, he would say, okay, I'm going to show you something, and you're going to, and he wouldn't go much further than that. He would show me some kind of roll, and he would say, I'm going to come back in 2 weeks. And by then you have to have this down. And if you have it down, then I'll show you something else, and it just kind of became like that. So
that's good, because that spurs you on to actually figure out, all right, I need to figure out how to do this and nail it the next time.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. And I totally understand what you're saying about plateauing. I felt that way, maybe, 8-9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I just wasn't improving in any way. I was gigging a lot, playing the same thing over and over again every night.
Right.
I could do that stuff really well, but I couldn't do anything else. So yeah, I did go back and have some lessons. And I certainly improved during that kind of year or two. Went back to basics, bit of rudiments, bit of reading, bit of jazz, independent stuff. So I've definitely improved a little bit. I don't think I put enough time in back then to kind of take advantage of it as much as I should have. So that's one of my big regrets. But I can always, it's kind of, and doing this podcast has inspired me to kind of go back, and I'm watching loads of YouTube videos all the time.
Right.
I'm trying to get behind the kit whenever I can, but I totally agree with you there. And I think you need the fine balance of all those fundamental techniques and have a nice ear for it and a nice brain for it to kind of make yourself into the best drummer that you can be. So
sure. Yeah. And it's fun. It's real self gratifying when you pull something off that you've been hearing these crazy drummers do for a long time. And then all of a sudden you can, like, oh, wow. Like that wasn't that hard, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, you just have to kind of get to it. There's no shortcuts. You just have to do it.
Yeah, totally.
But it's really fun. I find myself now enjoying it even more than I ever did before. Just sitting there with the practice pad, and and in YouTube too. Now people have so much more of an advantage. I mean, the bar now for playing and technique and everything is just it's through the roof.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, there's guys playing now like they've never played before, and I always think, man, if only I had the resources that young drummers today have. I mean, everybody has access to it now, but when you're really learning and trying to, these guys are learning at a level that's insane already, because they have access to all of it. They have access to everybody around the world, unlimited resources to lessons, techniques, watching how drummers do things, videos, and I always joke, like, I think in my generation, it's like, I remember going to the music store and staying in there forever because they would be playing like the Modern Drummer lesson video VHS cassettes,
VHS,
on the TV. And I was like, I really wanted one of those, but that thing was like $25. And I had a pair of, are you there?
I'm there, yeah, but your
okay.
video's disappeared, but don't worry, that's cool.
Okay, there we go.
That's cool.
And I'm sitting there thinking that I had a pair of drumsticks with this thick of gaff tape on them because and I was like, well, I really need to buy drumsticks, so I can't afford that videotape, and so I'll just sit there and watch it and then try to absorb as much as I could and take it home. But that's all we really had, unless we wanted to spend a whole ton of money on videotapes. And now everybody could just spend all day long just studying, rewind, play it back, do that whole thing and learn all this stuff. And it's just like, wow.
You're going to slow-mo things easily nowadays and things like that. It's so much easier. Yeah. And I think what is key when you talk about that kind of age, kind of teenage years, that's when you learn things a lot easier than you do when you're an adult. And
you're a sponge.
Yes.
Also,
So I was at the age where, we had the internet, but there wasn't all these drum resources like there are now.
Right.
There wasn't Instagram. YouTube came in when I was like in university. So I was like a little bit late for that, unfortunately.
Right.
But I could have had it a lot worse, but we had VHSs and I think I had a few DVDs by that point.
Yeah.
But they were there, but yeah. But
well, I mean, you had an amazing advantage. I don't know if you saw it this way at the time, but of being able to watch, your dad and Mikkey Dee and have a front row seat with that. It's just like, wow.
Oh, totally. I know that's a massive advantage. And just having access to the equipment at a young age was such an advantage. I'm aware of that. And we had an electric kit. We had like a Roland kit. We were so lucky. That I could come home from school, I could put my headphones on and just play drums for a few hours, and I know that wasn't an option for many people, and watching Mikkey Dee from side stage and things like that was really inspirational to me.
Yeah,
and just seeing it from that point of view was like inspiring. And whereas I've never strictly studied Mikkey Dee's playing, it's definitely had a massive effect on my drumming.
But you heard it so much, just like me. It's like, I mean, I've loved Mikkey since he was doing the King Diamond stuff, and
cool.
And then getting the opportunity to tour with him and tech for him was a dream to me, because it's like my playing style. He had already influenced me so much that my playing style was very similar to what he was doing. A lot of is real similar. So to be able to be, this close, I mean, we used to go to, there wasn't social media and there wasn't, videos and stuff like that, but we used to actually physically have to go to a drum clinic.
Yeah.
If we wanted to be up close and personal with the drummer, but I mean, so to me, it was kind of like being in a drum clinic every day, with some of my, with Mikkey Dee, with Tommy Aldridge, with Paul Bostaph, with, all these great players that I've been able to actually work with and see from, 2 feet away every single night. And that was a big, inspiration to me too, even though I had already been playing, but that I guess allowed me to see, the professional side of it, to see how a drummer on that level actually performs and how they are, do everything basically. And what their practice routine is, their warm up routine, and how they approach the live setting and how they pace themselves. If they pace themselves, everything that was like such a valuable thing to me that I'm happy that I had to have that experience. There's not a lot of players, I think, that necessarily teched or, and get to have that kind of experience, I think. So
I totally get it.
Kind of,
and you're getting paid for it as well, which is a bonus.
Yeah.
There's a lot more work involved than just watching them play mine. But we'll talk
sure.
about that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It sounds like a really hard job. I've never really done it, but I've always kind of fancied the idea of doing it because I'm a bit of a drum nerd when it comes to stuff like that. And I think I would enjoy it. But we'll come to that, the kind of drum tech in era in a little while. So first, I wanted to talk about, obviously, you started on the snare drum. You must have upgraded to the drum kit or drum set at some point. So what were the main drummers, for, I guess, the music you were listening to at the time that were inspiring you the most when you were learning?
Well, I mean, kind of like the guys that I was just naming. I mean, Mikkey Dee, Tommy Aldridge, with everything that he did with Ozzy, like that live Speak of the Devil album was something that I just played and burned into my head over and over and over. Something about a live album, where it's just raw and it's energy and studio albums are great, but you approach your playing, or a lot of people, I think, most people, I think, what you do in the studio is a little different than what you do live. Live, you have a little bit more freedom to take liberties and to go off and do stuff. And it's exciting. Yeah. But capturing that on tape is a whole different story, when it's under a microscope and everything. So that live album, I really loved. And of course, all the Black Sabbath stuff with Vinny Appice playing. I'm a huge Vinny fan. Yeah. And of course Bill Ward too. Of course. I know that's a
they're very different drummers. Very different drummers. They're very different drummers. So it's nothing you can say both, but Black Sabbath was a band, like I always mention this. I didn't get into them until I was like 23 or something, which is stupid. Yeah. But Bill Ward blew me away. I was like, wow, he's like playing like jazz stuff in a heavy band, and everything is like swung, and there's lots of triplets going on. And I was like, this is the man. This is the man. And then when I kind of go around to the Vinny Appice stuff, I was like, oh, totally different style. Yeah. But I think I indirectly have been influenced by, maybe not him direct, but people he's been influenced, or people who have influenced him and vice versa. Because I was like, I play a little bit like him. Maybe not so busy. But both amazing drummers, amazing band. Yeah. The other one that obviously comes up normally is like Bonham. Were you much of a Zeppelin fan?
Yep. I was just about to mention, mention him. But Bonham like influenced the he came a little bit before that, so he influenced a lot of the drummers that influenced me. Yes. Sometimes you don't understand where that comes from, why this player's so great, and it's maybe because he's heavily influenced by somebody like Bonham. And so when you learn the lineage of what makes a player the player that they are, then you start to appreciate everybody down the line that actually contributed to that style that person kind of eventually made his own. Grabbing from different influences and saying, okay, this is how I'm going to mix it all up, and this is going to be my recipe for how I play. Yeah. And but Bonham, in drumming, you always get a lot of times you get the are you on the Neil Peart guy or are you the Bonham guy, kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. And I have to say, if given the choice, I was the Bonham guy. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of the players that I was really heavily into were the meat and potatoes, heavy hitters. I liked the groove that he had. Yeah. Neil Peart was more on the technique side. Totally. And Rush was a band that was it goes without saying they were far above musically, above a lot of stuff that was going on. Of course, yeah. But you had to be in a certain mindset to kind of really appreciate that too. And I kind of always liked the raw energy, the more of the passion and the animalistic kind of playing. Yeah, that's kind of what I was more drawn to at the point, and just the bashing. And
I think I feel the same. I feel the same.
Yeah.
I did have a short period when I was listening to like prog rock bands, but that was a very short era. I've never really got into Rush. Neil's drumming is absolutely amazing, but just I've never enjoyed listening to the music. Yeah, because I have to think too much when I'm listening to it, and that's not
right.
I kind of grew out of that stage of my life where I was listening to music because it was clever. I kind of don't care anymore. I guess I do appreciate certain bands. Like I still, love it when a Tool record comes on. I think that was a different kind of style of progressive. It wasn't the twiddly stuff, but it was kind of the mix between. I like different time signatures and things like that.
Sure,
but I like the heaviness of Tool, and the riffs are still there. And and I think that's why I can still listen to them.
And I think that's why Tool is Tool, because it's not just that, and it's not just math music.
Yeah.
If it was, I mean, there's a ton of bands that are just math music, and admittedly, I get really super into those too.
Cool, that's good. It's
because
great.
I'm just blown away by it. I'm just like, wow, this is insane. But the way it resonates with me, if I hear a really killer guitar riff, that's what's gonna make me want to like move everything out of the way, get on the drum kit, play along with that riff, and it's just kind of an instinctual thing like that versus sit down with a piece of paper and actually figure out all the chart all the different time signatures and everything that you have to play. But and that's not taking anything away from that. I appreciate all of it, and I listen to all of it, and I think you have to. I think you have to be really open-minded because there's certain things that I'll try to borrow from all the different worlds, but ultimately it comes down to me, and what comes out just naturally, and
Yeah, I know. I guess also the context of the music you're trying to play at the time as well.
Sure.
Definitely, you've got to try and fit in to some degree.
That is important, which is interesting too, because I love the title of your podcast because it's something that people don't really ever think about. It's like there's a ton of drummers, and I think there's a lot of drummers out there that are learning, and they're like, I want to sound like that drummer, and it's like, and I want to play like that drummer, but they don't realize that it's not just the drumming that's involved. It has to be, like you said, the context of the music.
Yeah.
The band has to support the style of music that you want to play. You can't play like Danny Carey if you're playing
in Buckcherry.
It wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work.
And that's something that you learn after a while. But I think you do have to play for the music, and you have to drum for the song. And I think it's like me. I've always come from kind of a little heavier background. I've always really been into heavier music, but a lot of the stuff that I do, I can't do with Buckcherry, right?
Yeah,
Buckcherry is a straight ahead rock and roll band,
and
you have to approach it differently. And much like the situation that Mikkey Dee is with now with the Scorpions, right?
Yeah,
he's Mikkey Dee, but he can't play like Mikkey Dee. He could play. Of course, it's going to sound like Mikkey Dee, but he can't do the signature Mikkey Dee, stuff that he's with the Scorpions.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that it's any less in any way. It's just not that style of music.
Yeah.
So he has to play for the style of music that he's playing, and I think that a lot of younger players have to realize that too. It's like, well, if you want to play a certain style, you actually have to be in a band that supports that style, and a lot of the bands and projects that I've done, I really wanted to bring in certain styles and influences, but when I would do it, it just didn't fit. and ultimately I would end up playing what actually fit the music. And so it's kind of a compromise.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
What you have to do,
Yeah. Well, talking about some of the other bands and projects you've been involved with then, what kind of, well, you can tell us about all the bands you've ever been in if you like, but is there any in particular that like stand out that were more interesting, or did you maybe get a little bit further with, or other than Buckcherry?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I'd mentioned this to you. It's, I got into teching, but I got into teching after I'd already been playing. My whole life I've just been in original bands. I was in so many bands at one time in LA. When I moved there, I just wanted to play with everybody, and which is kind of a big problem that musicians find with drummers. It's like if you're a decent drummer, you're in like 10 bands.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so I actually used to book a rehearsal, studio for the entire day. And then in 2-hour blocks, one band would come in and I would rehearse with them for 2 hours. And then the next band would come in and I'd rehearse with them for 2 hours. The next band would come in. And this is what I was doing for a long time. Eventually I got burnt out, but they were all different style of music. And I think that was really cool to be able to diversify a little bit like that too. And, cause I wasn't just sitting there bored playing the same style of music with, 4 different bands the same day. I had to draw from different energies and influences and I think that helped me a lot too. But so I mean that's kind of what I was doing in LA. And then I had a band called 40 Cycle Hum, which was a really great band that I loved. And Rocky George from Suicidal Tendencies was our guitar player.
Oh wow!
Mike Duda from Wasp was our bass player.
Cool.
And we played out and we did some really cool stuff. And I kind of continued to play with that band on and off. And we put out a record on Fishbone's label. Later on, we got Mark Zavon, guitar player that later did Kill Devil Hill.
Oh right, yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that band.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it was a good band, and I really liked that. But even before that, I did a record with CeCe DeVille.
Oh, cool.
From Poison.
Yeah.
And it was a band called Samantha 7, and we got a deal. We got John Kolodner signed the band, and we went out and we toured and we did that. And I played for. I was a touring drummer for Great White. At the same time, I was kind of doing double duty for about a year.
Wow.
But then I had an accident on tour. I got hit by a car. Got run over by a car.
What?
And I broke my leg. We went out to go walk around, try to find some lunch, and we were just walking up the street and getting to an intersection, and I was talking to CeCe, and when you're walking and you're kind of not, you kind of glance where you're supposed to be paying attention to where you're walking. I was kind of doing that, but I was really involved in this conversation because he was asking us about management for the first time on what we thought of management. Our manager was horrible. But I was like, oh, okay, now's my chance to have a voice. All right. So I was really involved in this conversation, but he was on my left-hand side. And so we get to an intersection and he, it's different for you guys.
Yeah.
But he stepped out, into the street, and cars would be coming from the left-hand side. And I'm thinking, okay, in my head, it made sense. It's like, okay, if he stepped out, then it must be clear. Well, I didn't realize he had just stepped out behind a car. And so when I stepped out, the car was still there, and I put my leg out, and the tire ran over my leg and snapped it in half. And we were touring. We were on tour. I was like, oh my God. So I looked down and my leg was like going the wrong direction. And I was just like, weirdest thing I ever saw. And it kind of slowly pulled itself straight. And I was like, I was begging him. I was like, don't give me any drugs. Don't give me any drugs. I could still play. Like
What?
Like an idiot, right?
Yeah.
Thinking that I was still going to be able to play. And thinking, oh, okay, I have double bass pedal. I'll just play with my left leg. My right leg's totally destroyed, but I'll play it with my left leg. And they were like, yeah, no. And so they rushed me to the hospital, but I had to leave tour. And it took me a little while to heal, but I actually did start rehearsing again, just using my left leg, because my right leg, I had a cast up to my crotch.
Right.
And I just started using my left leg, just learning all the, replaying all the songs. I set up 2 hi-hats, one open, one closed.
Nice.
And I did a bunch of shows like that. I'd hobble onto the drum riser in crutches, just leave my leg hanging to the right, and play with my left leg. And I did the whole pile of shows like that. It was kind of crazy. But
how long was that? So what, you had a week off or a few days off? How long after the accident until you went back to playing shows?
I took a few months to actually.
Good.
And the guy that was teching for me ended up filling out the rest of the shows for that tour.
Cool.
But then the bands were going to Europe, and I ended up not going because I still had a broken leg, and I was and I just need to let my leg heal properly, and so that was that. So then I was without a band for a while, and then that's when I got into the teching world. James Kottak from the Scorpions called me, and he was like, dude, and we knew each other. We were friends already from, playing and whatnot. And he's like, I need somebody to come and tech for me. He was on his first day of a tour, and they were at the MGM in Las Vegas, I think. And he calls me in a panic. He was like, dude, the drum tech that they had, I guess, had been there since Herman Rarebell. And so he was older, and I guess he was having some health issues, and he fell off the riser and had a seizure.
Oh shit!
And they were like, we had to send him home. He can't do the tour. And so James called me. He's like, dude, I don't know who else to call. Would you be interested in coming in and working for us? And I was like, wow, I didn't really have anything going on right at that moment. And I was like, it's the Scorpions, tour the world, get paid great.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bands. I was like, yeah. Let's do that. And then I got into the teching world.
Amazing.
But
you were obviously good at it.
Well, I think thank you.
You must have been good.
I think it's just because I already, it's like I know what I need to be able to do a good show. So I just kind of approached it that way and try to be ahead of any problems that were going to ever happen. If there was any problems, make everything bulletproof. And, and I think that the relationship with whoever you're working for is really seriously important. And I think the trust thing too, like if the drummer that you're working for trusts that you know what you're doing and that you got it covered, no matter what goes on, it really establishes something that's pretty awesome. And I've always got along with the drummers that I've worked for. I had mad respect for all of them. And the funny thing is, drummers, I always used to joke with when I had friends that were drummers, it was like, man, we always got along the best. Maybe because we're both drummers, we speak the same language, we think the same, we're the same energy and stuff like that. And it's just a shame that we can never, ever be in a band together. Because we don't need 2 drummers unless you're 38 Special. So working with these drummers was kind of cool because I had a really great rapport with them, and we would just geek out about drums and most of the time, and it was just a really cool thing. And and I never let the fact that ultimately I was a player and I still wanted to play. I never let that interfere with my work. I knew my job. I knew I was there for a specific function, and I tried to do that function the best that I could. And because that's important too, that a drummer doesn't really necessarily want somebody drum teching for him that thinks like, shit, I can't wait till he breaks his leg so I can get up there and play, you know,
yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's not a good attitude to have.
No. And so, you know, and granted, luckily I worked for a lot of guys that it's like, well, no matter what, it's like, you're not going to replace Tommy Aldridge. It's just not, you know, kind of thing, you know, and Mickey and just all the guys, you know, and it's, but it was, you know, it was a cool thing, but I got into the teching world of it, and it was hard to get, to not do it anymore. Cause after you do that, then you obviously meet so many other bands that you tour with and stuff like that. You get along great with those guys. Eventually they need somebody and they call you and stuff. And it was hard at that point to decide to stay home, and because my local band might be doing 3 shows.
Yeah.
That month or something like that. I'm like, wow, yeah, it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
You know, but I kept playing, and I stayed active, and I was able to actually fund a lot of stuff like the recordings, you know, paying for the rehearsal rooms, you know, kind of in lieu of me not being there all the time and the band having to sit around and wait for me until I came back. I was actually funding a lot of the stuff too. So it was kind of like a trade-off.
That is pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, I mean, it's kind of tough to do both. You know, it's kind of tough to do both. And
yeah, because you need a plan ahead usually if you're in a band, a touring band. Yeah. So you need to kind of keep the calendar as free as possible. So yeah, to kind of to say you're in a touring band and take on teching work or be available. Yeah, I can't really see how it would, you know, work long term, because what happens when, you know, the band you're in gets offered a festival, like maybe a good paying festival. And you said, oh, well, I'm teching for this band that week. Well, you know, it's difficult. It's really difficult. And
it really is, you know, and the thing is, I got a couple opportunities in my many years of teching to play with bands that were bona fide bands and the thing is, though, it's really tough because I would look at my schedule working, and then I would look at their schedule playing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough to make me leave touring.
Yeah, I understand that.
In teching. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a weird place to be, because on one end, it's like, that's your passion. That's what you really, really want to do. But then you have almost the golden handcuffs kind of actually earning money and touring with a great band and staying at great hotels and getting paid well.
Getting paid.
And
yeah, exactly. I know.
But it is the golden handcuffs, you know, like they say. It's like,
yeah. But I can totally understand, because luckily, apart from COVID, luckily I've kind of been a pro drummer technically for the last kind of 3-4 years, just about, you know, apart from the last year because of COVID. But prior to that, I was kind of working full-time job. I wasn't teching. I was working in a music shop, pretty cool, but not as cool as touring the world. But yeah, I remember I had to turn down shows because I dedicated to the kind of day job. And I know a lot of other drummers are in that position, and they can't justify pushing the Originals band anymore because of the pressure to earn money from their day job. Yeah. So I guess it's a similar thing. And there's also guys that I know kind of push the band as much as they can, and then it gets to a point where they have to kind of quit and get a real, I hate using the word real job because, but because family commitments, or, they're having a child, or, something like that happens. Yeah. It's a similar thing. And it must have been really tricky and what people don't realize, you can be a drummer or guitarist in a band that look like they're successful, but you don't really know how much you're going to get paid for that tour. Because it's not guaranteed. But if you're in a tech-in position where, you're contracted you get paid X amount per day,
right,
plus expenses and or travel or whatever. At least you know you're going to come home with, you know, a decent wad.
sure,
You can actually work the maths out.
yeah,
And sometimes on paper, you have a tour, you can see your fees if you're in a band, but you can't really work out all the expenses yet because you haven't made them. So
right,
it's
yeah.
difficult. And then, then the manager takes the percentage and then the agent takes their percentage. And then you're like, oh, I was kind of expecting to earn a lot more than this.
Sure.
So
I think most people don't realize how much money it takes to actually tour.
No, I don't think they do.
It's not just as easy as saying that, oh yeah, let's throw some gear in a van and leave and go play some shows. It's not. I mean, you can do that for a very short amount of time, but ultimately that's not where you want to be. But I mean, so to be able to do it is like, man, it's really something that people should, the people that get to do that should have all the gratitude in the world and be so thankful. And I do, and I'm ecstatic beyond words that I'm actually was able to come full circle and play again, and come out and do that. If I didn't, I would still be teching and be cool with that. But the fact that I've been able to play again is just a dream come true to me. It's really awesome. And I appreciate every second of it and every part of it. And I don't take any of it for granted. And I think that almost makes it a little bit better in a sort of a way.
Totally. No, I definitely agree with that. So how, explain to me then, how did you join Buckcherry? Did you hear they were looking for a drummer, or did they just kind of approach you? Were they taking auditions? Did you know them anyway?
I knew them. I knew them, but not very well.
Okay.
We knew who each other were, just from doing certain shows together with bands that I was working with, and you know how small the scene is. It's like you see people, and everybody kind of knows, who everybody is and that sort of thing. But the funny thing is, like at a certain point with playing for me, I told my wife Mikkey, I said, man, the crazy thing is, for a long time I actually kind of downplayed the fact that I was a drummer at all.
Interesting. Partially
for professional reasons, because I didn't ever want that to interfere with anybody that I was working for, and I also didn't want to really be thinking about that when I was out there playing too, because I wanted just to accept the function that I was in and do that and be happy doing it, just for joy, life joy of just doing something and being proud of it and stuff like that. So I actually downplayed it for a long time, and it got to the point where some people would hear me play, and they would always make comments. They'd be like, dude, like, you could play, like, why aren't you playing? And then I'd be like, I don't know, why aren't I playing? It's like there's not that many gigs out there to be had. It's it's not as easy as just saying, I want to play and be able to play and make a living playing. Sure, anybody can play, but to actually make a living and to do that is something totally different.
Yeah.
And so, I told Mikkey, I said, you know what? I said, a lot of people were like very surprised. They were like, I had no idea that you could play. And I said, and then the same thing with art, right? Because I paint, I do oil painting and stuff like that. Yeah. Something I've done my whole life. And the minute that I put up one of my paintings on like social media, people were like, oh my God, like, I had no idea, I didn't know you could do this. And I got to the point where I was like, man, this is kind of really sad, that there's people that I've known for 10, 15 years, have toured with. We know everything. You would think that you would know everything about somebody, but because I wasn't putting all that stuff on social media, it's like people had no idea that I was, a painter. They didn't know I was a drummer or what level of a drummer I was, or any of that sort of thing. And I thought, boy, that's really sad. That I could know people for this long and they have no idea what I'm even about.
Yeah, it's a massive part of your life and your personality and.
Sure, it's what I've done my whole life. It's what's been what's driven me my whole life.
Yeah,
and I said, you know what? At this day and age with social media, where everybody's putting everything on social media, from what they eat that day to, what they put in their hair and all of those stuff.
Yeah,
I said, I'm just going to start sharing my stuff, just for no expectations, but for no other reason than to just let people know me, know what I'm about, and just to kind of share it. And so I started doing that, and somehow the videos of me playing, I think, got on Stevie's radar. Stevie, our guitar player,
right? Okay,
and he saw some of that stuff, and he was like, "Wow!" And at that point, they were going through some changes in the band, and Xavier was not in the band anymore, and he and I are great friends, and I have mad respect for Xavier. I love everything that he's done, and he's such a great person too. And I actually know Xavier, but they had another drummer that was playing with them at the point that had done some of Josh's solo stuff, and it just wasn't working out with him. He kind of ended up inheriting the spot because Xavier was no longer there. So there was never like a formal audition or any of that stuff, to my understanding.
Okay.
But it just wasn't. I think it just got to the point where there was some issues, and they decided that they needed to find somebody that was going to be the right choice for the band and the position and stuff. And Stevie had already commented on some of the videos that I had shared, and we started this dialogue. And then finally, just out of the blue, he sent me a message, asked me to call him, and I did. And he offered me the gig.
Wow!
And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And the great thing is, like, they're such a great band because they're so diverse. They cover everything from punk rock to some songs are straight up, the metal and then hard rock and classic rock, and some are funk, and there's ballads, and they just cover the entire spectrum of music, which is the type of band that I always wanted to be in.
Great. Perfect.
And because I'm the same way too. It's like, I don't consider myself the one trick pony kind of a drummer. I love to play funk. I love to play different styles. I love to play metal. I love to play double bass, but I love to just play classic rock, groove like Charlie Watts or, whoever. And so they covered it all. And just as importantly, so of course, without hesitation, I was like, absolutely. And they're a band that I know works.
Yeah, well,
and that was a really important thing.
Established band, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, they don't stop working. They love to work, and I already had, I was working with Slayer at the time, and so we had tons of dates booked and everything too. So it was kind of one of those things that, like, finally I have an opportunity that I can do, that I can leave the tech world and go and do, and know that it's going to be worth it, and no looking back now. We toured, we did about 160 shows in 2019.
Wow.
We went to the UK twice. We did Japan, Australia. We went everywhere.
Wow.
last year we still managed to pull out about 20 shows last year.
I remember noticing that you were kind of, well, I think in the US, they kind of opened up a lot earlier than, well, we still haven't opened up in the UK, basically.
Right, yeah.
I noticed there were still some shows going on during the summer, and certain states had different rules and laws and stuff like that. So I did notice you were playing some. So what was that like? Did it seem strange?
Well, it did, and we kind of did it in stealth mode. We weren't allowed to even say that we were playing. We kind of just showed up. We did the show. Wow. And a few of them were like biker fests.
Okay.
Which gotta love it. The bikers were just like, you know what, we're still gonna do our thing. Yeah, the world might be freaking out, but we're still going to do our thing.
Yeah.
And but there's a lot of backlash to all that too. So
of course,
we kind of, just to stay neutral, we were like, we'll go do these shows, but we did everything in our power to do it the right way. They had temperature checks with everybody.
Cool.
They even had plexiglass between all the monitor world and tech world and stuff and the stage.
Yeah, that's good.
So you didn't have any direct contact with people. Some people were social distancing. I can't lie and say that they all were, but it was kind of a thing that you felt a little guilty for, but at the same time you were like, look, man, we gotta work. We're and we're doing it safely, and that's just what it is. But but now the U.S. is almost wide open now. Everybody's getting the vaccine, and I guess that may be helping it. But tours are starting. Like I said, we start June 1st.
June, yeah, that's incredible.
We have dates till the end of the year. We have 105 shows that are booked.
105, incredible. Yeah. That's so cool. What does your wife think? You were away anyway, I guess. You were away all the time anyway. So
yeah, I mean, she's used to me being away 8 months out of every year. That's kind of what it's been since we've been together, and we've been together for around 15 years or so.
Oh wow!
And so she's kind of used to it. But although this year has made it's going to make it a little more difficult to because everybody got so used to the new routine.
Yes.
And being home, and now it's going to be a much larger void when I'm gone, but we're breaking it up though, because like Stevie has a son, Josh has some kids, and so we're going out for like 3 weeks, coming home for 4 days, and then going out again for like 4 weeks, coming home for 4 days, and stuff like that. So we'll still be able to see family and all that sort of thing. So
yeah, I think that's an ideal way to do it, rather than go out for like 2 months without coming home. Yeah, because that even like for me, like that's a little bit daunting. Like we've never done any runs that long. I think like 3.5 weeks. It's probably the longest I've ever been away from home and stuff. And I know that's nothing for certain musicians, but my dad was away 9 months of the year back, back in the day. So I'm used to it on the other end as well. But it was tough. It was tough. So I kind of wouldn't want to do that. Ideally not do that to my wife. Maybe if I was making millions, it'd be okay. But we're obviously not. We're drummers in rock bands. But no, that's cool. So yes, how many years were you doing the tech-in thing then in total?
Oh, geez. Nearly 20.
Was it that long? Wow.
Yeah. Because I started with Scorpions in right around 2000.
Wow.
And worked for them for like 11 years. And like I said, I never stopped playing. I always had my things going on. And, but, it was kind of hard when you're, like we just said, away from home for 8 months. It's hard to even find bands that are going to stick around and wait for you to come back home, before they're going to jam it, just going to find somebody else.
Yeah.
To do it,
it's difficult.
But yeah, so it's going to be a new adjustment, with me being away from home with Mikkey, and but it's always an adjustment. It's when I would be away, she would get so used to her routine and doing everything that she did. So I would come back home, and it would be, it would take a little while before we weren't constantly running into each other, and I wasn't disrupting her entire,
I get what you mean,
scene and stuff like that. And then finally, when we finally got into kind of a rhythm, then I would have to leave again and stuff like that. So it's a constant thing, but it's part of it. And I give her a ton of credit. It's like, I don't know if the roles were reversed, if I could do what she does, I
know what you mean.
I just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
cool,
I'm very, very fortunate in that way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so obviously you're going on tour, but you've also got a new album, HELLBOUND.
Yeah.
That's the name of it.
Yeah.
It's coming out on June the 25th. So
yes, June 25th.
So this is the first album you've recorded with the band, is that correct?
It is. Yeah. It is. We recorded that in October. So we've been sitting on it for a little while.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to do it at the right time. And I know, like you guys released an album in 2020, which, by the way, is a brilliant record. I love that thing. I jam to it all the time.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. What is it?
Hate
Machine.
Oh, Hate Machine. You like that one, you? Okay.
That one kicks my ass all the time. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like Bomber.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it's every bit as good. And I mean, just the production that you guys got on that thing is brilliant. I mean, the drums sound incredible. Everything. So I really, really dig that record.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying this episode of Drum for the Song. I just wanted to briefly interrupt the interview to tell you about my Patreon page, which is a place where you can support the podcast and, of course, support myself. You can sign up to one of the 3 tiers on there. There's one that's £3 a month, one that is £5 a month, and one that is £10 a month. There are loads and loads of exclusive benefits to signing up, including bonus episodes, merch discounts, Christmas card for myself. If you sign up to the top tier, I'll send you a pair of my drumsticks. Loads of other stuff. So go check it out. It's patreon.com/drum for the song. And another way you could support me if you're interested, if you're not bothered about the Patreon thing, if you go to my official website, drumforthesong.com, you can send a donation via PayPal. So thanks for watching this and enjoy the rest of the show.
Drum for the Song podcast.
We recorded in October, and we've sat on it. We shot 3 videos for the record already.
Cool.
So we've been being productive.
Yeah.
We did the record in Nashville with Marti Frederiksen, who co-wrote a great deal of the record with Josh and Stevie. Marty's, if you're not familiar with him, he's a phenomenal, well-known producer. He's written a lot of Aerosmith's big hits, like the song "Jaded."
Yeah, wow.
He's worked with everybody, Carrie Underwood to just everybody. I mean, he's phenomenal, and the band has a history with him because he worked on like the Black Butterfly record,
right?
And he also did some stuff on the 15 record, which was the song with Sorry. He co-wrote that song.
Cool.
And so we did this record. It's 10 songs on the album, and it's a banger. And we can't wait for it to come out. And we're going to start going out with it. Earache Records is the label in the UK.
Oh, great!
And
yeah.
They're
a great label.
Offering, and they're putting out limited edition vinyl colored discs of that one, so people in the UK can order that already. It's already ready, available for pre-order. Yeah. And there's some songs. There's a song or 2 on Spotify now. We're on the playlist already. In fact, today we're on the cover of the playlist.
Oh wow!
It's just called Hard Rock. And,
nice.
And, yeah, and so a lot of lot of great things happening with this record already, and you know, I can't stop listening to it. It's just so good to my ears that I just keep playing it over and over and over and over, and I love the thing. So I can't wait to play some of these songs live.
Yeah, I was wondering. Well, no, so that's probably the first record you've recorded for like 20 odd years. Is that correct? Or have you done anything in between? No. Oh, you've done things in between.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've done a number of things in between, but that's my first with Buckcherry.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah,
I came in just after the last record was recorded.
Yeah,
and that's it. I was kind of, but there was actually an opportunity that I might have been able to be on that record too, but I was already committed to a Slayer tour.
Right.
And so I was like, it just didn't work out. But I was thinking, well, you know what, Tommy Aldridge, he came into Ozzy after the record was done. He came into Whitesnake after the record was done.
Yeah.
And you know, if Tommy can do it, it's cool. You know, I said, I'll play on the next one. And so, but this is the first one that I'm actually appearing on it, and nice. Very, very stoked for it.
Yeah, cool. I can't wait to hear it. And I'm sure the listeners will check it out, because I've got a lot of hard rocking listeners, let's say. Definitely. Nice. So I think it's going to be right up their street. If they've not, I'm sure they're familiar with the band, but if they're not, I'm sure they're going to like it.
Oh yeah. You know what? The UK is a really great area for us. We always do really well in the UK.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to come along the next time. Well,
yeah, absolutely.
It's all up in the air at the moment. Like we've got a tour that's supposed to be in November, but no one's even sure whether that's going to happen. Really, we're quite confident, but currently the laws are not saying that we can have live music indoors with numbers yet. So we just got to hope by then it'll be okay, but we don't know.
Yeah, move it outdoors.
Yeah, well, you know what the weather's like in the UK in November.
Yeah,
it's horrendous. It's terrible now.
Supposed to. There's talk about us coming there in the fall too. So, amazing. But I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
So there are things getting announced. There are things getting announced, but I think a lot of bands, just to be safe, are waiting until like next spring, especially in like international bands, because it's a lot to organize and book for you just to cancel and postpone again. So,
right,
I don't know. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you come in the fall or autumn, as we say, I always find that the slightly different words in American English I quite like it. I like it that we have slightly different ways of saying things. I think it's cool.
Yeah, ours sounds like the complete. I don't know. You guys, the way you guys speak is eloquent. You know, it's like you could tell somebody off, and it still sounds good. It's like just keep going. You know, the way we speak is No,
I like it. I think it's good. I think it's what I find, because I've got like a Welsh accent. Yeah, people are not so familiar with that accent, especially from other countries, so they find it difficult to understand me. Whereas with most American accents, obviously there's different types of American accents. It's more of a universally recognized accent. So from like TV shows and stuff. So I think everyone can kind of understand anyone from America.
Sort of. I mean, America's pretty large. So
of course.
Depending on where you go in the country, there's places where I can't understand people.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that are apparently speaking in English. But their
where?
accent is so. Some places in the South.
Okay.
They just got a really strong draw. And it's really kind of difficult for me.
So you live in Texas, right?
I live in Texas now, but I lived in California most of my life.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is where Breaking Bad is filmed.
I was going to say Breaking Bad.
Yeah. That's why everybody knows Albuquerque. And I tell you, it's not far from that.
Wow. Okay.
It's kind of an accurate.
Wow.
Kind of thing, but So I don't know if I have an accent. If I have anything, it's more California style, I guess.
To me, it sounds like standard kind of California kind of accent, right. But I don't know. But it's cool. It's cool.
Welsh is difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
There was times that, admittedly, with your dad, he would come in and he would say all sorts of stuff. Walk into the bus and say, and he would leave, and I would be sitting there dumbfounded. I was like, "What did he say?" I was like, "I have no idea," and so it's like, "Oh, all right." Or he would be telling me a certain thing, and I'd kind of smile and just kind of nod.
And a lot of that was the strong bow, perhaps. Altering the way he spoke, maybe. I don't know.
Might have been. But Scottish, there's some people in Scotland that have such a thick accent that it's really, really difficult to understand in Scotland.
Yeah. To be honest, I struggle sometimes if I'm speaking to someone in Scotland. It's completely different, but you get used to these things, and but I think it's cool. I like the fact that there's so many, especially in the UK, you can literally go somewhere 20 minutes up the road and they've got a different accent to you,
right?
Because in England as well, a different town 30 minutes away,
sure,
you sound completely different. I think that's cool, and I think it gives people different personalities and identities and stuff, and that's what I like about it. And for me, being, I guess it's not an internationally recognized accent. There are famous Welsh actors and stuff like that, but they don't tend to speak in their, I guess, native Welsh accent.
They take voice lessons to learn how to lose the accent and all that sort of thing. It's
cool.
I think it's great.
It's all good, man. Thank you. What haven't I asked you about? Oh yeah, I was wondering. Obviously, there's ups and downs in the touring industry, and you get disasters, and you get great moments. What have been the best and worst drum tech experiences for you that you can remember?
My worst experiences have been gig dreams, to be honest with you. Everybody has those where like everything goes as wrong as it could possibly go in your dream.
Right. Okay.
It's just those are the bad parts. But I can't really say that I've had any really bad experiences. There's cool. There's independent shows that might be more challenging than others. But it's all part of the experience. You know what I mean? There's people out there that will do nothing but complain and all that sort of thing. But with the Scorpions, in 2002, we did a tour of Russia.
Oh, wow.
That lasted nearly 2 months. It was called the Living Tour. And we did all the Baltic states. We did Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, all those. And then we did like Moscow and St. Petersburg. But then we went all the way through Russia, Ekaterinburg, Novosibirsk, Minsk. We went through Siberia. We went all the way to Vladivostok.
Wow.
Which is as far as you can go.
Yeah.
Until you get into the Sea of Japan. But we went through that, and at that point, no other band had gone and done that tour. So the venues that we were playing in, everything was a challenge. Everything was brand new to the people. There was the language barrier, of course.
Yeah.
But everything was so antiquated. I don't know how we pulled off these shows. But the drum riser, oh my God, James would show up and I'd be like, dude, don't even look under this. Don't even look under the black drape because you just don't want to know what's under there. Oh, I mean, I literally had to make a drum riser out of anything that I could find sometimes. They were not even using power tools. It was like, a guy walking around with a little can full of rusty nails that, he hammered straight. That was trying to nail the drum riser together, and it was a challenge, And we did nearly 2 months of shows this way, and pulled it off. And the food was a challenge. Of course, Russia is much different today than it was, 18 years ago, 19 years ago.
Okay. I've never been. So I'd like to go, but
now you go, and it's just Europe,
okay.
kind of basically. But back then it was quite different, and it was just a real challenge. But the crew banded together, and we just realized, look, it's not going to get any better. So we need to just do the best that we can, make each day happen.
Great.
And go with it. And after doing that tour, everything else was a piece of cake.
Yeah, I can.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing else compared to that tour. And so, every other tour after that was, first world problems.
Yeah.
When you consider it, it's like, oh yeah, the catering sucks today, or whatever you want to, people want to complain about when you're on tour. But
but there's no toilet seat.
No, we didn't have toilet seats. Literally, there was.
Yeah.
We managed to, at some local store, they didn't have Western style toilets either.
They have the hole in the floor thing.
The hole in the floor, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so it was that, and wherever they did have Western style toilets, there was no toilet seats. And we're like, why is that? Why is there no toilet seats on any of these toilets? And they would say, well, because if there is, people steal them and they take them home to use in their
houses,
outhouses or whatever they have. And so it was quite the learning experience. Our ice coolers were cardboard boxes that they would put a trash liner inside. And they had these 2-liter bottles, that they would freeze of water. And a guy would sit there with a hammer breaking this thing apart to make ice. And he would put them in this thing. And those were the stage coolers, know. And this is the Scorpions,
Yeah. What kind of size venues were they, capacity wise?
They were like ice halls.
Wow.
Yeah. So there were good size, indoor arena ice halls.
Wow.
The crazy thing is some of these places, it had this eerie feeling like, you walked into these places and you're like, wow, I don't think there's been an event here since Stalin was giving speeches in this very place, such a long time ago. And the stagehands were the military. Wow. And they didn't use ramps for anything. And we had these heavy cases worth of stuff, and they were just lugging them down the stairs. And everything was just like, wow. So nothing in my touring experience ever compared to that. So there was really never any reason for me to complain. And feel good about complaining. When it was something that was just easy, like, what's the worst can happen? Your drum head order didn't show up and you had to reroute it to the next place or something like that. And, or there's a storm and we have to stop the show for a little while, or that sort of thing. Or, but nothing compared to that, So for me, the whole touring experience has just been great. There's some are better than others, but overall, it's just to be out there. It's I always considered myself lucky to be able to do that. Make a living from doing that.
You went in at such a high level to start, I guess. You kind of you didn't kind of do the toilet circuit thing, being a back. Like I know guys that have kind of learned from being a backline tech for a whole band, sleeping in a van and things like that. And they've built their way up from there. So I guess it's cool that you kind of went in with a big band, and I guess you were, staying in hotels and tour buses and nice things like that straight away.
Yeah.
But then
that is a fortunate thing. I mean, I did do, the other way of touring on my own, ever since,
of course,
since high school, I was in top 40 bands that we used to go tour, and we used to play, we used to be the house band. We used to do like 4 1-hour sets.
Great.
We would start on a Thursday night, play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then move on to the next state. And, we traveled around in the little van and a U-Haul trailer and
cool.
Slept on, took showers at the local public swimming pool. And
you've done that.
I tried to make friends that we could sleep at their house and do all that sort of thing. So
Cool.
I definitely paid my dues in those ways.
Definitely. Yeah.
But as far as working as a tech, no, I was, I didn't have to go through that. So that was kind of nice. I hear stories of, and I feel bad, but I hear stories of, other people that came up and they started with a band and they did the, stuff like the Warped Tour, and they were describing how that was and all the challenges with that. And I was like, wow, yeah, I kind of feel like a jerk saying that, first band that I ever worked for was a Scorpions, but that's just
great. That's your story, man. That's your story. Yeah. That's what happened. And it's just great. And yeah, I've heard the Warped Tour is tough. It's like, when I was a kid, it was like, oh, the Warped Tour is the coolest thing ever. But people I know that have played it or worked it have said it's just so much hard work. So
and there's like a million bands, and they're I never did the Warped Tour.
No. Probably for the best. So as you mentioned there, like, if you're a tech for a big drummer, are you in charge of all the equipment, and are you the one contacting all the endorsement companies? You're doing all that on behalf of him, or does he kind of do that and just kind of pass you on and stuff?
I handled everything.
Everything,
I don't know, what other people do. I think there's a number of techs that I'm familiar with that I know are the same as me. It's like you're the person that has all the relationships with all the endorsement companies.
Right. Okay.
With James Kottak, I handled everything. I did everything. Like, he would just basically have to show up. He didn't even think about any of this stuff. But I ordered all the new kits. I picked the colors. I decided which hardware that I wanted on stuff. I did fun. All that sort of thing. And he would show up and he would be like, "Yeah, looks great. All right, let's go hang out."
That's so cool.
But I was the liaison between all the companies and James, and I made sure that he had everything. And with them, we had 3, sometimes 4 backlines that were revolving in different parts of the world.
Wow. Yeah.
Because of logistics. Like, we had a sea container going to Australia at the same time that we're in Europe touring, but we have another sea container going to America for the next leg. And so just being on top of that and staying up, making sure there's enough sticks, there's enough heads, have everything that we need. So there was a lot to be on top of.
There's a lot of responsibility there, and I think you don't want to be caught out. And this, because I guess I'm at this level where I kind of still do all that stuff myself.
Yeah.
And I kind of like knowing that I'm in control of it in some ways. Right. If I had to pass all on to someone else, it'd take me a long time to kind of build that trust to just kind of leave them to it, I think. Yeah. I don't know.
It's a weird thing, because I'm the kind of guy that is just like, I just get stuff done. Right.
Yeah.
So whatever needs to be done. And I'm not like, I've been around guys that sadly think, oh, I'm the musician. I can't be bothered with doing any of that stuff on my own, and carrying my own suitcase in and out of the hotel. I need somebody to carry it from, that sort of thing. I'm not that guy at all, and because I was, a tech for such a long time too, I'm just that kind of a person. In fact, I just drove yesterday. I got this really killer new Yamaha kit.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome. But I had that here at my house, and our gear got sent from California to Oklahoma, and my gear was in 2 different places, and because I got the new kit here, but I didn't have any of the hardware here. I actually rented a van and drove to Oklahoma yesterday, 7 hours.
What?
Unloaded my gear, kind of prepped it, and then drove back. So I did that. So I'm not a prima donna in that sense at all. It's like I love to be on top of things.
Cool.
I love to. I do all my my ordering. The guy that I have teching for me is great too, and he's actually been Buckcherry's tech for about 14 years.
Oh, right. Okay. So you kind of inherited the tech in a way.
Yeah.
You're happy with it. Obviously,
Yeah,
you're happy with him anyway.
Yeah, he's awesome. And like Stevie said, do you have a guy? And I said, well, I know just about everybody. I said, and they said, what do you think about T-Bone, which is the guy that's been doing it? And I said, look, man, I said, this is a guy that's been doing it for this long. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. And I said, more importantly, is that you guys know him and you guys like him.
Yes, it's very important.
You know what and I said, because you got to live with this guy, right? So, and I said, so that's more important to me, that his, people never think about it. It's just like, does he have good hygiene on the bus?
Very important.
Yeah. You don't want a slob. You don't want a guy that has all these issues and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to bring in a guy that maybe I liked, but maybe he didn't click with the rest of the band. And then they're going to be looking at me like, yeah, this is your buddy. You brought this guy in.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a weird thing for me. But the funny thing is, like, everybody thought that since I was, a tech, they said, oh, he's going to be the worst person to deal with, because I'm very anal when it comes to gear.
I think all drummers are. I think we all are. I think we have to be.
And I'm very particular. I like things the way I like them, but they were like, oh, he's going to be unbearing how difficult he's going to be. And in fact, it's the opposite, because I know things do go wrong from time to time. I don't panic when I'm playing. If the bottom snare head busts or something like that, I'm just like, oh, bottom snare head bust. I'll just wait until the end of the song, or I'll stand up and play off to the side. Well, change the head, and I'll hit the floor tom for a little while or whatever. I'm not really freaking out by it. I've worked for drummers that if one thing goes wrong, they lose their minds.
But shit happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or accept that things do break.
Some drummers are really super particular. Like with Tommy Aldridge, I love Tommy Aldridge. But he was one of the most particular drummers that I ever worked with. There was one time and this was within Lizzy, we were on tour, and for sound check, he used to come in, and he would be wearing like these khaki shorts. He just wanted his towel on his drum stool so he wouldn't get his shorts sweaty or whatever. And so I'd put a towel on there, and he would come play. But and all his stuff had to be exactly where it needed to be, which is totally understandable. I get that. But because he does all these fast cymbal catches and everything, if they're slightly off, he'll actually cut his hand, bleed all over the place, and he just does it by muscle memory. He's not even looking at what he's hitting. It's just he expects to do that, and the cymbal's right there, and catch it. So you have to have a spirit level on everything. His floor toms have to be perfectly flat. The hi-hat sound, everything. And he came in one day, and he's sitting there, and he picks up his sticks too, and with the weight he twirls them, and if they don't feel just right, he'll put them to the side, and he won't even play that set of sticks. He'll twirl a whole case full of them before he finds a pair that he likes. And he sat down, he started playing, and all of a sudden on his face you could see like, all right, something's not right. And he kind of checked out his kit. He got off the kit, looked, made sure everything was straight, and then he sat down and tried to play again. Still, this look on his face. He's like, no, did you change something? What's going on here? And then he stood back off the kit, and he looked, and he goes, oh, well, what happened was the towel that they gave me that day was kind of a larger towel. So when I put it on the throne, it was dragging on the floor. So I was like, oh, I don't want it to do that. So I just doubled it over so it could fit nicely on the throne. but that made it, this much
wow.
too high.
Wow.
And he was like, don't ever double the towel. It makes it too high and it throws everything off. And I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. But
that's pretty intense. That's pretty.
But I understood.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I get it. A lot of drummers have certain things that they say, and I think maybe that's what made me a good tech, is because everything that they said, whereas somebody who doesn't get it might think, oh, this guy's being a jerk, or he's being unreasonable, or he's being too picky. And I was like, no, I get it. Like Mikkey Dee. Mikkey Dee would it was really particular about towels.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah. They had to be a certain type of towel. Like he didn't like the real fluffy, fancy towels.
Like
because
the rough ones.
He likes the rough ones.
Yeah.
He didn't like the fancy fluffy ones. He says, because I try to wipe the sweat off me, and all it does is just push the sweat around. It doesn't actually absorb.
I agree with that.
Like, I totally do too. I'm like,
I just don't feel like
that makes sense.
Yeah. I've never been in a position to ask for a different one. It's kind of like I get whatever they give me.
Right.
I know what you mean though. It doesn't absorb. It just it just moves the sweat.
It just moves it around. Yeah. So when he said that, everybody else was like, "Can you believe him? He's being such a." I'm like, no, I get it. I totally get it. You know? Yeah. So everything that any request that a drummer ever gave me was not unreasonable to me. It was like, that makes sense. Totally makes sense. All right, cool.
Yeah.
And so for me, like I said, it just made. I'm probably the easiest guy to work with, because I'll get up there and if something's not right, I'll just fix it.
Yeah.
I'm not pissed off because, something's maybe slightly off or something like that. It's just like, no, I'll just move it.
Yeah,
it's a very, very simple solution. Right?
Yeah. And there's so many variables, aren't there, as well? If you're setting up an entire drum kit, like, if your drum tech makes one slight difference from the night before, it's not a big deal for someone like me or you just to make that adjustment to how we want it,
Yeah. Ultimately, you would like to point that out, and it's correct from that point on.
Yeah.
If something's on an everyday basis put on wrong, then needs to be addressed. But but generally, it's like, things happen every now and again. Things break. I crack cymbals. It breaks sticks from time to time, and other things change. But as long as it wasn't due to negligence, of not maintaining the gear, then it's fine.
Yeah, totally.
But if it's something where they got complacent and they're just like, I really should fix that, but I'm not gonna. That's an issue. That's another issue.
That is bad. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about your gear. You've mentioned your brand new Yamaha kit. I know you use Paiste cymbals, right?
Yes.
And I remember
you do too.
I do as well. Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, which is good. They are the best ones.
Yes.
So I don't know what else you're using in terms of sticks, heads, and cases, and all that. So.
Yep, I'm using ProMark sticks.
Cool.
I use 5B forward, and what that is just a shorter taper on the front of the stick, which gives it a little heavier balance on the front, which I personally like, because I always used to flip it around and use the butt end. At least the snare. And when it's a longer taper, it makes the stick skinnier and it makes it lighter. A lot of people like that too, because it rebounds faster. But I like the added weight in the front. To me, if it doesn't have that, I push too hard with the lighter sticks,
right?
And I end up breaking them. I'll break them on the bell of the ride, or I'll break them on the snare drum, just because I'm trying to murder the drum so much to get out of it what I want. And so ProMark's always something that I played early on. Paiste I've played since my very first cymbal that I ever purchased.
Great.
And Yamaha, I have a really long relationship with Yamaha. And they're really super taking care of me. And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
To me, it's driving a Rolls Royce or what have you. It's like you can't go bad. I know you use Sonar. Sonar is also one of those companies that's right up there too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great companies, but for me, I've had such a long relationship with Yamaha, and I love all their stuff, and I think that they're extremely innovative with what they come up with. The kit that I'm using now is a live custom oak drum set.
Nice.
And they're thin shells, but the center ply is a polymer resin shell. So oak is an already really live sounding wood.
Yeah.
And the polymer ply inside, you're familiar with the sound of an acrylic drum kit, right?
Yeah.
They're like a Ludwig Visselite kit or something like that.
Yeah, I have
they have this really great sound. They're loud. They project and everything. So it's kind of combining that sound with an already live oak sound. And to me, they are by far. I went to the Yamaha showroom, and I sat. They had all the different kits that they had. They had the recording custom. They had the maple custom. They had all the different lines. And I sat behind this live custom oak, and it was just like the most resonant sounding kit I've ever played on. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Yamaha does a thing too, where they make the shells undersized, just slightly undersized.
Yeah.
Which makes sense too, because if you're thinking about bearing edges, right?
Yeah.
Drum heads are curved at the very end. And so when the drum shell goes to the very end of the aluminum hoop on the head, your bearing edge is really close to, if not on, the curved part of the head.
Yeah.
So that's where you get kind of weird tones and weird buzzes and weird things that makes it harder to tune. But if you just make this drum a little bit undersized, then you're moving your bearing edge in slightly, and then so your bearing edge is laying just on the true flat part of the drum head.
Yeah.
And so
sense.
you just hit it, and it's just like such a pure tone and resonant, and it's just like I love the kit. So I can't wait to play this one
in a live. Live.
Yeah.
I'm in a similar position where I bought a new kit at the end of last year.
Yeah.
After we recorded, so I've done a few little sessions in the studio with it, but I haven't played it live yet, and I can't wait. So I'm really looking forward to it. But
which series are you playing?
I just bought a Sonar SQ1, which was the Birch model.
Birch, nice.
A few years old now. They came out a few years ago, but 24 by 14 kick.
Nice. By 14, wow. That's got to be a nice stud to that one.
It is, yeah, because I think the kick I was using before was 24 by 17 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I got it sounding the way I wanted it to, but I think I had to kind of use a bit more kind of muffling than I probably should to kind of achieve. I like kind of a short sustain on my kick. I don't really want it to be too boomy.
Right. Well, the 14 will help you with that.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, and I've noticed it. Just playing fast doubles with one foot. It's just much better because the note finishes before I hit the second note, and it's ideal for that. And I think maybe I was struggling a little bit more on the other one. So yeah, that's the main thing I'm looking forward to, is using that kick drum, and it's my first ever 18-inch floor. So I've got a 16 and an 18-inch floor tom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm doing too.
Yeah, I thought you would be. But
yeah, I'm doing right now with the new kit. I'm doing 10, 13,
nice,
16, 18, and a 14 floor.
Oh, one there as well.
And a 24 by 16 kick.
Nice. Oh, it's like an in between then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
nice.
And I like I've always liked the 10, 13, 16 because there's like a 3-inch even distance between the toms. Often if you're doing other sizes, it's kind of hard to find the perfect step
I
when you're
understand
tuning.
with tuning, yeah, especially like a 12 and a 13.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Yeah, there's not much difference between those. Yeah,
they're too close. Yeah, and if you have a 13 rack, and some people have a 14 floor even sometimes.
Yeah. I used to have a 14 and a 16.
Okay, yeah,
and then with a 13 rack. So yeah, I was in that situation, but
it's hard to. You're almost forcing it to live in a tuning range that it doesn't want to be in.
I did feel like that. I was tuning it as low as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
Then I felt like it's not resonating the way it wants to.
Yeah.
But then any higher, it just doesn't suit the style I was playing. So that's why I've gone for the 16 and 18, and I love it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. Yep.
I can't wait, man. But yeah, talking about the oak, I used to own a 14 by 7 Yamaha Oak Loud Series drum. I don't know if that's exactly the same. It might be a similar construction, but that was great. Sadly, I sold it about 10 years ago. But I wish I'd kept it. It would have been a nice one because it's so different to everything else that I've got. So
yeah,
I just like Sona don't make oak drums, so it's not a material that they use, so it's not even an option. So I wish I'd kept that snare drum, but maybe I can get one day.
Yeah, you can turn up if you look. I'm a snare geek, not as much as Adam. Adam's a freak with drums and collecting and snare drums. It's like I have a really nice snare collection, but I don't know if you can see in the back.
I can see a bunch of stacked up.
Bunch of Yamaha stuff, and you see the Motorhead bottle opener too, right behind it.
Oh yeah.
The snare.
I can just about see that. Cool.
I collect a lot of the signature line because they don't make it anymore. And so some of the drums that I have are like the Yamaha's version of the Black Beauty, like nickel over brass.
Yeah.
They're hard to find, but I'm constantly looking for those.
Cool.
And I love a lot of snare drums that they still offer in their catalog, but they discontinued the signature line several years back, and a lot of those were really great drums. So I'm always kind of on the lookout for those too.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can come across them.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, man.
And I got a Pauline signature, Maple Custom, a Manu Cache, which is
I've heard about that one. I've heard many good things about that.
This guy right here.
Oh wow. Yes.
Yeah, so that's the nickel over brass. I use Evans drum heads.
Oh yeah. Great.
And Humes and Berg cases. I have these really brilliant cases that Michael Berg custom made for me, which they'll be on tour now too. They're the best.
Nice.
Cases.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I've heard the name of the brand, but it's not something I see many drummers over this way using.
Yeah,
so
I think. What's the company out there that's this Hardcase? I think is
Hardcase in Protection Racket. The kind of the kind of softer ones with like the sheep's wool kind of stuff inside,
Right. Yeah.
But that's what I use. They're great. Yeah, really nice. But
that's Tommy Armstrong.
Is it? I don't know.
Maybe with Protection, but Humes and Berg, they amazing company. The company's been around for a long time.
Cool.
And the great thing with that company is it started with Michael Berg. His father is the guy that created the trumpet mute.
Oh wow!
That whole thing. So he's like the creator of that thing.
Wow.
He made the first one and then started manufacturing them and so Humes and Berg had its beginnings there, and now they're into case making and stuff. But the story is really amazing, and Michael Berg is a great guy, and so he does amazing work. He's an artist basically. Every case that he comes out with, he makes glow in the dark ones. He makes the ones that change color depending on the temperature, like a mood ring or something. He does. I told him I wanted platinum with aluminum shavings and gray and white and black, and he mixed them all together and made these beautiful cases, and so that's really cool too. So I'm happy as can be with the gear that I'm getting to go out and play now. Pisces. Have you been able to go to the Pisces factory in Switzerland?
I haven't. I'd love to go. someday.
You need to do that.
They said, if you're ever nearby, you're welcome to come. But we don't really go to Switzerland that often, and it just hasn't really fallen into the schedule yet. Maybe I can just make a special trip as part of a vacation or something.
It'll give you a whole different appreciation for the cymbals.
Yeah, I've watched the documentary, the Drumeo. I think it was Drumeo made one, and and that really made me appreciate them so much. Like seeing just about the consistency that they won't put a cymbal out unless it sounds identical or as close as possible to kind of what it should sound like. And because I've experienced it with other brands where you buy a replacement cymbal which is the same model as the one you had.
Oh, that's totally different.
It's totally different. Yeah. Especially a brand beginning with the letter Z. That happened to me a few times, but I'd love to go, man. I'd love to go.
Well, the thing with Pisces, it's like every cymbal that is made out of there is hand worked by actual human.
Yeah,
it's the hammering. Even though it's a pneumatic hammer,
there's the person moving it. Yeah.
They move it around, and they decide where it's going to be hammered. They decide the pressure that the hammer is going to come down. They're just not swinging it.
Yeah, that's physically not doing that. Yeah.
But the lathing is all done by hand, by an artisan that just has been doing it for so long. He's just so great.
Yeah.
Everything is done by hand, and it's like once you get one of those cymbals, you realize like, wow, this is a work of art. It's like I'm afraid to. I don't want to break this thing.
I know
now,
you got to hit them with sticks really hard.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. But they told me, they said that's okay. They're made to be hit. It's okay if you break them because that's what keeps us in business.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right. But
that's fair enough. Yeah, that's cool. I just bought the 2002 24-inch Alex Van Halen ride, the Big Al.
Wow.
I haven't played it properly with the kit yet. It arrived last week.
That thing's got to be a beast.
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait because I like crash my rides a little bit more than most ride players, I suppose. So it's supposedly great for that. So nice. I'm looking forward to giving it a good whacking soon.
Yeah,
man. But you got some great gear, and I can't wait. Well, I bet you can't wait to get on tour next month. It's going to be cool.
Weeks.
Yeah, it's a few weeks away.
Couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you'll be on tour by the time this episode goes out, actually. But this.
Okay. Nice.
So make sure the guys check your website or your social media stuff, and just in case you're playing nearby.
Yeah, and go out and get the record.
Yeah.
Order the vinyl.
100%.
And it'll be out probably by maybe by the time this airs, but this will come out before the record, so. Okay,
that's cool. My plan. Like maybe the week before, I forget the exact date.
Oh, excellent! Yeah, so pre-orders are doing really, really well.
Yeah.
But again, too, it's vinyl. You can't. Digital. People will be able to get it digitally and stuff too. But you can only have the vinyl if you have the vinyl.
Yeah, exactly.
Order the vinyl.
Yeah, the vinyls are really popular again now. So
yeah,
people are like I don't know if you hear my episode with Charlie Benante, but his record that he's just put out, he's not even doing a CD version. He's just doing vinyl and digital.
Just a vinyl,
yeah. Just vinyl and digital. Yeah, it's cool. There's the first.
Yeah, I think that came out today. Actually.
Yeah, today. Yes, today.
Yeah.
I listened to it. Yeah. I listened to it earlier. A lot of variety on there. I didn't really expect that.
Charlie's super musical.
Yeah,
he really is, and he has a really great appreciation for lots of different styles of music, and he's also a multi-instrumentalist too, which it makes him special in that sense too. But he's another guy that I tech for and got to see firsthand every day, and just was blown away by him. He was always a guy that I idolized and looked up to. He was playing faster double bass than anybody. At one point, and like him and Dave Lombardo were the two guys that were.
They were the two guys. Yeah.
And so I mean, I love Charlie. He's great, and he really appreciates music, and he's an artist also.
Yeah.
It's just that culture, I guess. There's a lot of drummers that are artists as well.
Yeah, sadly, I'm not. my wife's the artist in my family, so
nice.
she's really good. Yeah, so
Nice.
I think when I was a kid, I remember like my mum saying, "Oh, you're quite good at drawing and stuff." She could see some form of potential in me, but I don't think I really ever spent much time doing it to kind of get better. And then by the time I got to like school and we were in art class, there was people much better than me. So I probably just assumed, well, this isn't for me. I'm not good at this. I'm a drummer, and I played bass back then as well, quite a lot. So I spent a lot of time practicing that instead of the art. But let's talk about your stuff, because you've got a specific Instagram page for your artwork. So it's Francis Ruiz Artist, and you've also got Francis Ruiz Drums. So for anyone listening, follow both accounts. And the one is full of some great photos of your artwork up close and some videos and stuff.
So do some time lapse videos.
Yeah,
and that's not everything. There's a ton of paintings that I still haven't put up there either.
Oh wow!
And I made them available for a short time. I had some really high quality gallery style G-clay prints that were made that people were able to purchase, and it was on this really textured German etching paper, and so I made those available. I still have some left if anybody wants to order. And there'll be more coming out eventually. It's just something that I have to do in between everything else.
Of course, yeah, exactly. You've been so busy. So
this year has afforded me the opportunity to actually be a little more prolific with it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, a lot of people are asking me for commissions and that sort of thing, and I have sold a few works. But the thing is, with like commissions that I was trying to explain to people, is it's not something that I really want to do, because I paint mainly for myself. Right? I paint, and I want to be able to paint and express myself the way I want to express myself, however it comes out.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Whenever somebody asks you, "Can you do this for me?" They already in their mind have like this idea of what they want something to look like or how it comes out. So there's expectations, right?
Yeah.
So, and then it becomes your job to deliver to their expectations. And if it's not exactly what they were picturing, they might be disappointed.
Yeah.
And I don't want anything to do with that. I'm like, no, this is me. This is my style. If you like it, cool. If you don't, cool. And it's kind of like music, and I always use this as an analogy. Also, it's like if they say, if they went to AC/DC and said, "I love your band. You guys are the greatest band. I want to hire you to play, but I would like you to play songs that sound like Def Leppard." I'd be like, no, they're like, no, if you want Def Leppard, go hire Def Leppard. We're AC/DC. We sound like AC/DC.
Yeah.
We're not going to try to sound like something else. If you're hiring us for what we create, and that's the way I see artwork too. It's like, I want to create what I create, and if the person likes that and it resonates with them, then that's something different. But I'm not really into doing commissions.
Okay.
For that sake, because it's kind of like doing a ladder of what I just explained.
When you described that, it reminded me of I did some remote drum recording sessions the other day,
right?
And so I didn't have. They kind of said, "Do whatever you want." So I kind of did it. Sent them a quick MP3.
Yeah.
And they liked it, but they were like, "Oh, can you do more fills?" And so it's like, well, I can, like, now. So I'm glad I asked you. So basically, in a way, it was great because they did like what I did, but it obviously wasn't quite what they had in their head. So it's very similar to how you just described.
Yeah,
like kind of being asked to do a commission, similar.
Yeah. It is that, and if somebody was really familiar with your catalog of work that you've done already and said, "I love your playing. I want you to play on my record. Whatever you do is cool."
Yeah.
then it'd be, because I love what your style is. Whatever you come up with that's what I want, and then you'd be like, oh, all right, cool.
Yeah.
But it's not always like that for drummers, even with us in the studio, for example, right? We had Marti Frederiksen that was in there. Marti, amazing producer, like I said, but he already had a specific sound that he wanted to go for, right?
Right. Okay.
And so when I went in to lay the drum parts, I did what I did, but then you also have to be able to be flexible and work with the producer who says, okay, well, can you make that part less busy? Can you do a little this here and do that? And then you have to be able to flex and do that.
Yeah.
And you have to have trust in the person and trust the process and be able to give them what they want to hear. Hold 1 second. Gotta let my cat out. He's like,
okay, hey,
freaking out. I think the little cat needs to go to the litter box or something.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But it's like you really do, have to be able to identify what they want and deliver what they want to hear too.
Yeah.
It's not just about going in there and just trying to do everything that you know how to do on a song, because it has to fit, and ultimately you have to, a producer that knows what he's doing, you have to trust, even though at the moment you're like, well, no, I thought this would be cool. Well, no, you got to think of the bigger picture and be like, the song is going to be much stronger if you do this.
Yeah.
And so that's a really cool thing to experience also in being in a recording session of that type, and something that drummers, up and coming drummers too, should probably know that look, you need to be able to be flexible, and it's not about pulling every chop out that you have. When we did this record, I had to think more like, I had to think like the guys that I tried to channel were Kenny Aronoff.
Cool.
And Phil Rudd.
I was going to say, I bet you're going to say Phil Rudd.
and Joey Kramer.
Yeah. Cool.
And Ringo Starr.
Nice.
And and Charlie Watts. It's like, as a drummer, you may not, some people may not realize, like, when you listen to the Beatles, you're not really thinking about the drums, because he's not doing anything that's really blazing, and that you're like, oh my God, what did he just do there?
Yeah.
But when you really listen, and when you have an understanding for music, you listen to what Ringo did, and he's brilliant.
He is amazing.
Not a lot of drummers realize that. But how many drummers do you know that you could just play the drum part without any other music, and you know what song it is?
Yeah, that's true. He's one of the very few.
Ringo Starr, you can.
Yeah, totally.
You play the beginning of Come Together.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Yeah. With Aerosmith, you play the beginning to Walk This Way. And it's just like, there may be not a ton of acrobatics going on drumming wise or something like that, but it is really the best part for the song.
Yeah.
And drum for the song.
Well, yeah, totally.
And so it's a really cool thing to understand that too. Especially now that, like we said, people have access to all these shredding videos, and everybody's trying to play like that. Everybody's trying to play 10 million notes per minute, and it's great, but you're not always going to have the opportunity to do that. And like we said too, you're going to have the music to support that style of playing.
And then that's just narrowing your audience down, or your potential audience down, if you want to play that kind of music, So
sure,
which is fine if that's what you want to do. If that's what you want to do, that's great. But you just got to realize, you're not going to get nowadays you never know, because all these metal bands and rock bands are getting really good record sales, but like if you want to get in the charts, you know, playing 1 million notes a minute, it's probably not going to get you there. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, each to their own, and it's cool. I can't do any of that stuff.
It's funny. Paul Bostaph told me, he goes, dude, he goes, you know, cause he's in his 50s now, like early 50s, but he said, you know, when you're in your teen years and even in your 20s and you start out playing thrash metal, you're not really realizing that you're still going to, if your band is successful or if you become successful, you're still going to have to be playing thrash metal when you're in your 50s and even maybe up to 60 years old and stuff like that. It's not it's not as easy as it was when you're, you know, 17 years old or whatever. And so it's like, but anyhow.
Yeah, totally, man. That's cool. Coming to the end now. We've been chatting a while, which has been really fun. But if you can spare me another, you know, 20 minutes or something, I've got a few questions from my patrons. I got a Patreon page.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And one of the benefits of the top tier is that they get to ask you a question. Well, I ask you a question on their behalf anyway. So I've got a few of those for you, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely.
So the first one is from Yari in Finland. What's your, obviously we don't know the songs yet, but what's your favorite song to play on HELLBOUND?
Ooh, wow. On HELLBOUND, well, there's a couple songs that we're playing already. One is called So Hott, which is the first single that we just released.
Watched the video the other day. It's a good fun song. Party song.
That one's cool. There's another one that's going to be coming out, which is called HELLBOUND.
Okay.
Which is very, very AC/DC-ish.
Nice.
Straight up rock and roll. It's like you can't deny that song. It's just real cool. Wow. I mean, the record's so diverse. I can't wait till everybody hears it so that you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But, I can't wait as well.
Yeah. There is, and a lot of it's really high energy, you know, so, you know, the songs that we're playing live right now are the funnest ones, which is we're already doing HELLBOUND. We're doing another song called The Way, which is a ballad.
Okay.
And we're doing So Hott live. There's another song called Gun that we actually just did a little sneak preview. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's all good. It's all fun. It's you know, I try to dig into everything, you know, as much as possible, you know, just really just dig in there and get everything out of every single song that we're playing. Yeah.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
This is next question is really good. Gareth Richards from Wales. If you had the chance to drum tech for any drummer alive or no longer with us, who would it be and why?
Well, fortunately, I've gotten to tech for most of my heroes.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. You know, we're saying somebody like Bonham. I think it would be absolutely amazing to be able to just sit by him and just watch him do his thing.
Yeah.
I can't really think of anybody more than that I would love to just sit and take it all in.
Yeah.
You know,
and the other benefit of that is that apparently he didn't like changing his drum heads. So there'd be less stuff for you to do.
Yeah. Well, that's boring. I mean, I love having something to do.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm totally a drum geek. It's you know, I'll do stuff just because, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it would be amazing to just see that up and close.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of stuff that people don't even realize that when you're watching a drummer that close, there's so many things that you notice about the drummer and their technique and what they play and how they play it that you would never, from the audience perspective, be able to get that. for many different reasons.
I get that.
The mics might not pick up certain things.
Yeah.
For example, I was sitting behind. Do you know who Todd Zuckerman is?
Yeah, of course.
He's the drummer of Styx. Amazing drummer.
I think I've seen a clinic of his once. It was incredible. Yeah.
He's over the top. But I was on a tour with Styx, not working for Styx, but I was with another band. And I got the opportunity to listen to his headphone mix, what he's listening to.
Oh yeah.
And of course it's drum heavy, but and sit behind him and watch him play. And he's playing ghost notes over everything. Like every little guitar nuance that you hear that the band's playing, he's playing those too.
Wow.
So like he's voicing everything that's going on instrumentally with the rest of the band. He's voicing it from out front. You don't hear it because it's such a light thing.
Yeah.
But it gives him his pocket. It gives him his feel. And the way he plays is just like, oh my God, like you would never ever get to see any of that stuff from any other perspective except for being right behind him and listening to exactly what he's listening to.
Yeah.
And that's why somebody like Bonham, what we hear, to be up close to him and watch that, you'll probably be floored. I can't even imagine. You're like, oh my God! Like,
and there's not a lot. And there's not a lot of footage, obviously, of that kind of time period. Like good footage. There's obviously there is some obviously that exists, but like compared to nowadays with so many different angles and HD and stuff. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
and Charlie Benante too. It's like sitting behind Charlie. I didn't realize a lot of his fast double bass stuff that he's doing. He does something to where he actually does like 2 hits on his right foot and 1 hit on his left foot.
I watched. He did an Instagram video the other day. I think it was with an electric kit, but I was like, he was experimenting with his new pedal, and I was like, he's doing. I wasn't sure if he was doing doubles, like, maybe he was doing what you were saying, so 2-2-1, 2-2-1. But I just can't comprehend that.
Yeah, but they're so consistent. It sounds just like single stroke rolls, but like super fast, like. But it's really, and it's like, wow, man.
In my head, I don't know how I would make that work if it was in 4. I don't know how I would. I don't know how I would. I can understand if that's what the rhythm was, but if he was actually playing, if he was playing 16th or 30 seconds, but doing that. I don't know how I could make my brain work that out.
Because it kind of basically turns it into triplets is what it is, but it's not with the triplet fill.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah. If he was playing triplet notes, then it makes sense. But
because if you're playing triplets, eventually your snare is going to be going the opposite. Way. You can be hitting on the up versus the down. If you're just talking triplets, but it's just bizarre. But just little stuff like that is the stuff that you really get to see that you would you never get to see otherwise from that perspective. So
I bet that was amazing. Tech of him, man. That's cool. Next question. We haven't covered this. Dean Monahan. He's from the US as well. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite Dean? Yeah. What's your favorite country to tour in? With regards to costs, food, venues, and law enforcement, etc.
Law enforcement.
Yeah, well, that might be a big, a thing. I don't know.
I have different places that I've been to, and they're all for very different reasons. In the world, I'm very fond of Greece.
Nice.
I love the food. I love the culture. I love the history. I love the atmosphere area around the Mediterranean.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah. The fans are great, and they're all kind of crazy, but the good kind of crazy. You know what I mean? It's like they love to have a good time, and they're all like the kind of people. They're like, oh, you need to come back. You stay at my house. Kind of thing. So it's really cool, but. The easy answer is that any place that you have a great welcoming there is good, because there could be some places that have no other appeal to them whatsoever, but the fan base is just incredible and like no other. You know? And of course, every band has its pockets where they're really popular. In some places, they can't get arrested. It's kind of a weird thing, you know. There's bands from America that here they'll be playing a small venue. They go to the UK and they're playing Wembley Arena. You know, so it's kind of a weird thing. You know, I have kind of a different perspective on that, because my experience is not just with Buckcherry. My experience is with touring with a lot of other style of bands that do well in certain areas, like Slayer. You know, that do well everywhere, like the Scorpions, like Anthrax, like Black Label Society. That these bands have these areas where they do really, really great. Like a lot of them, Motorhead was amazing in Germany. You know, pretty much everywhere Motorhead was amazing, but like a band like Buckcherry doesn't do as well in Germany, because I think radio was never really kind of open to that genre of music. It's not really a hard rock kind of place. You either have this really different, like pop polka-y type music, right? Some of these pop bands that are out there, like Buzza Uncles or somebody like that, right?
We played with them actually. Absolutely huge out there.
You get a band like that, and Dervy, you know, it's like the style of music he does. It's kind of poppy, you know, and it has its own thing that I can't really describe. Or you get the really heavy bands, you know, but you don't really see bands like you know, the like the Black Crowes or somebody going and playing Germany and stuff like that, just because radio never really supported that type of music. In that area. So you either got one or the other. When we were touring with the Scorpions, it was kind of odd to me that the Scorpions were not really able to tour the UK headlining on their own. Like they're doing stadiums in other parts of the world, but in the UK, we had to go supporting Judas Priest.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
Because Judas Priest was big in the UK, but the Scorpions were not. And it's just because they never really cultivated that area. You know, so they...
Maybe this... I noticed the last few years, they've definitely like headlined some of the festivals. Maybe they've grown a little bit since. I don't know.
But not a full-blown tour. Like you don't
maybe
really,
not. You
don't really see them going to a lot of different places that normal, a lot of other tours happen, you know. So I have, you know, I have a different experience depending on the band that I was either working with or playing with. On different places of the world. You know, some places are really great for this band, not as great for this band. That's just the way it is. You know, food is always a big factor for me. No, I love seafood.
So that's why you like the Mediterranean.
And anytime that we can play in the US on the East Coast where you can get lobsters like for nothing, I love it. You know, there's a venue there that has a raw bar and it's just amazing. But
sweet. Sounds good. Last Patreon question. It's about your artwork. So this is Steve Hancock from England. He's also an artist. He said, I get a lot of inspiration from music to draw and paint. Is it a link for you or something else that inspires your art?
Well, I mean, the subject matter that I'm doing now is all about music. You know, it's all legends in the music world. There's an energy about that really inspires me versus drawing scenery, you know, or a couple ducks in a pond or something, you know, or flowers or something like that, which nothing wrong with that, but that's just not what's doing it for me. I like the energy of and the passion, and I try to capture that on canvas. So that's what inspires me. And also, it's just a matter of being creative. As long as I can be creative in one way or another, even doing carpentry stuff, it's just an expression, and you get the full gamut of the process of it, and then sitting back and being able to look at it and having that sense of accomplishment and completion when you do something like that too. So,
I totally get that.
That's what's cool.
Yeah,
and
man.
again, like I said, I do it for myself. So it's not up for, I'm not trying to get validation from it. It's not up for, to be judged. It's not up for, to win any awards or any of that sort of thing. So,
just for yourself, yeah.
Yeah, so it's for myself. So I don't have any kind of hesitation in the process. You know what I mean?
It's probably the best way, really. It gives you more freedom and more enjoyment out of it at the end of the day. So
yeah,
no, that's cool, man.
Yeah, absolutely,
that's great. That's fantastic. We're going to do a quick fire round now. 10 questions. One of them you've already answered, so I'll skip that one. But
right.
And then we'll get towards the end. So, number 1, hot or cold weather?
Hot.
I thought you were going to say that. I know the answer to this one as well because we had a conversation the other day. Number 2, daytime or nighttime?
Nighttime.
Yeah. Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Guitar or bass?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. That's I love a good. Wow. Okay. That's without explanation, right? A good guitar riff will make me want to play, but bass is part of the rhythm section. So as a drummer, you can't deny that. Cool. If the bass ain't happening, the rhythm section isn't happening. You could have a guitar player that's sloppy and playing ahead of you and behind you and all that sort of thing. But if you have a solid rhythm section, that's where it's at. So
cool.
But I do love a good fat guitar riff, though.
Fair enough. Yeah, man. Yeah. It's a tricky question. They're both very important. So yeah, cool, man. Nylon or wood tip sticks?
Wood tip.
Yeah. But the next question was John Bonham or Neil Peart. So you said Bonham. So
Bonham, yeah.
I've already answered that. Beatles or Rolling Stones?
That's a popular one. That is a tough one. I would say if I had to pick one forever, it would have to be the Beatles.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's tough though. But for me, yeah, definitely Beatles. Clear or coated drum heads?
Clear.
Okay. Big or small venue?
Big.
Favorite time signature to play?
Geez. Well, I mean, most great songs are in 4/4.
Yeah.
So, 4/4, 6/8. Those would be.
Yeah, I like 6/8 as well. It's fun.
Yeah.
It feels fairly natural. You don't have to think about it too much.
Right.
when you play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man. Great. So just to finish off, if you've listened to one of my episodes before, you've probably been familiar with this. If you could create your own dream band with yourself on drums, who would you have playing the other instruments and singing, dead or alive? But they can't be members of Buckcherry. Yeah.
Okay. I'd probably have Zakk Wylde on guitar.
Nice.
I would probably have maybe Steve Harris on bass.
Cool. Yeah.
And singing, I would probably have Ronnie James Dio.
Oh yes. Yeah. You can't fault that. No, great.
So I don't know if each of those members would click together, but those have always been some of my absolute favorite players.
Yeah, man, that'd be a rocking band, I think. So it's always interesting to ask, and a lot of the listeners always look forward to that part and always find it interesting. And it's cool that you came up with yours really quickly, because sometimes sometimes people have taken like 10 minutes to answer that question. So yeah, man, it's
well,
so
that's okay. I took you the scenic route with all my other answers.
No,
so,
that's what, it's great that you give me that amount of time to actually have a nice conversation. We didn't have to rush anything, and I really enjoyed catching up with you, and I hopefully we'll cross paths. Next year now, unless you do come to the UK this year, I'll come out to a show.
If we're fortunate enough to come this year, then absolutely, it'd be great if you did come.
I'd love to.
We did play Cardiff in 2019.
I remember you messaged me about it. I think we were we were away, or I can't remember, and
I think Tim came down.
Oh, is it?
Tim got to see it. Yeah,
Tim. Oh, cool, nice.
But yeah, I mean, definitely it would be great. Yeah. And I still think it would be such a brilliant show if Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons and Buckcherry could do shows together. That would be amazing. Well,
it would, like, musically, it'd be perfect. I think it literally would be really perfect kind of lineup.
Yeah. And Buckcherry is one of those anomalies when it comes to like bands, because they're the style of bands that we play with are all over the place.
Okay, cool. So you can fit in.
Yeah, and historically, the bands that Buckcherry has toured with have been, like Avenged Sevenfold, and Papa Roach, and just a bunch of heavy bands. That you would never think, because I think a lot of people hear rock and roll and they think that Buckcherry's even sometimes an 80s band, when in fact it's not. Buckcherry didn't, it's not. It's more of a 2000s band. But because of it, and because of this, the styles so much, it kind of fit in with anything. We play festivals that are super heavy festivals, and it still goes over great.
That's cool.
But we can play like a classic rock festival and it still go over great, and stuff like that too. So, but you guys, you guys have a lot of that really amazing energy that Motorhead had. But you guys have a lot of melody in the songs that you guys have too. It takes another little step beyond what like Motorhead was doing. You have all that part, but you have a lot more of the, not that Motorhead didn't have melody, but a lot more of the modern melody styles and stuff.
Yeah, I totally get that, and I think we're fortunate enough that we can play on a metal bill and then play a classic rock bill the next day. We can kind of do that. We're always the lightest band on a metal festival, but we're playing Bloodstock hopefully this year.
Nice.
We're probably going to be one of the softest bands on the bill, but like we've done it before and it's gone down great, and
it's okay. People love it. It's a reprise in the day.
It's refreshing.
It really is. If you're hearing 10 bands in a row that are playing the same style of music, it could be deafening after a while.
Yeah, and especially if you're trying to find a new band, it's going to be hard to remember which one was which if they all sounded very similar and they were on after one after another. So I think sometimes it does help us kind of sounding how we sound, and we can drop like a faster or a heavier song in for this set because it's like that kind of audience, or one of the punkier songs maybe, or a bluesier one, or a more southern rock sounding one if we want. And I don't know, we're not breaking any boundaries, but at least we've got options.
Good music is good music.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah, man. So I'm glad you like it, and that means a lot actually, because it's nice to get a bit of praise for
it's
for all the hard work. I can't wait to hear Hellbound. So as soon as that comes out, I'll be listening to it constantly, I imagine. So I'll let you know what I think. But I'm sure you'll be busy on tour, and hopefully it'll go really well. Hopefully COVID will still remain dormant pretty much. And we can get back to normal soon. And maybe we can make that tour happen or at least, play a festival together.
A couple shows or something.
It'd be fantastic.
Something.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. We'll get our guys to speak to your guys or vice versa and see if it can happen one day. It'd be great.
Yeah.
And just nice chatting to you. And
same here.
I'll let you get on with your day and get ready for your tour.
All right.
Yeah. Cheers, man. Cheers, Francis.
All right, Dane. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Drum for the Song podcast. If you've enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you could leave me a review or leave a comment, that would be fantastic too. You can also follow me on social media at Drum for the Song or at Dane_drums. If you're on Facebook, you can search for Dane Campbell Drummer or join the Drum for the Song official Facebook group. If you'd like to support the podcast, you could consider buying some merchandise from drumforthesong.com or consider supporting me via Patreon for additional content. Any support like this is gratefully appreciated, but I would like to give extra special thanks to my top tier Groove Master patrons who are listed in the description below. Thanks so much for listening or watching this far. And if you're a drummer, don't forget to drum for the song.